You got guys that punch hard and hit hard, and you got guys that come out and win a few rounds. But nothing really was tough.
Okay. A lot of people are saying that Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because the only fought was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters at heavyweight.
You know, I think Oleksandr Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but you need to match him with someone that can actually match his work rate. Okay, and for me, Adrian Caballero can match his work rate. He's going to go to the body. He's going to follow a game plan.
Floyd Mayweather has voiced strong skepticism about the widespread praise Oleksandr Usyk is receiving. He believes fans are too quick to label fighters as legends without considering the full context. In Mayweather's view, Usyk doesn't measure up to the true greats of boxing. Floyd confidently states that no fighter, past or present, can match what he accomplished. He retired with an undefeated record, claimed titles across multiple weight divisions, and remained dominant for over a decade. While many consider Usyk an all-time great, Floyd isn't convinced. He argues that Usyk's opponents weren't on the same elite level he faced throughout his career. Ultimately, Floyd sees Usyk as overrated and far from matching his own legacy in terms of skill, impact, and...
And today I'll let you know, there's no fighter that will ever be better than me. There's no fighter that wasn't better than me before me or after me or when I'm long ago. I'm the best.
Critics like Showbiz the Adult offer a strong counterpoint to the rising acclaim surrounding Oleksandr Usyk. While many fans praise Usyk as an all-time great for his achievements in the heavyweight division, Showbiz questions whether his level of competition justifies such status. The core of the argument focuses on the caliber of opponents Usyk has faced. If his victories came against fighters who weren't elite or were past their prime, it diminishes the significance of his accomplishments. Aside from Tyson Fury, widely regarded as a top-tier heavyweight, most of Usyk's opponents lacked the legendary reputation needed to place him alongside all-time greats like Muhammad Ali or Evander Holyfield.
That Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because the only fought was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters at heavyweight. But they say that it's full of quality, right? I want you to understand, full of quality. Witherspoon is an all-time great heavyweight. His brother, Tim Witherspoon, you can argue. But Chance Witherspoon, no. Derek Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. He's a fantastic competitor, but if you look at who he fought, look at who he lost to, Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. Dubois is not yet an all-time great heavyweight. Look at who he fought, who he struggled with, who he lost to. Dubois is not an all-time great heavyweight. So we're left with, when you say quality, we're left with Tyson the Gypsy King Fury and Anthony A.J. Joshua. Now, if you guys think that A.J. is an all-time great heavyweight, you can. I can understand that. I definitely can. There's an argument to be made. But Anthony Joshua, when you think about him, and a lot of ops from other great heavyweights, Anthony Joshua lost to the likes of Ruiz, been knocked out by Ruiz, was knocked out by Dubois. Anthony Joshua, I'm not sure if you would consider him an all-time great heavyweight, but you can make an argument. Tyson Fury definitely can. So beating Tyson Fury twice is really Usyk's claim to fame. This is the thing.
Another perspective from analysts is that Oleksandr Usyk's brilliance is better recognized through the lens of pound-for-pound rankings rather than heavyweight legacy. They emphasize his exceptional footwork, defensive skills, and high ring IQ, calling him a modern boxing master. However, these experts hesitate to label him an all-time heavyweight legend. They argue that Usyk's greatness stems more from his technical style and adaptability than from defeating historically iconic opponents. As a result, while he clearly ranks among the best active fighters today, his position among boxing's all-time greats remains open to debate.
His performance was okay, that's number one. And many of you say, well, Usyk is a top 10 all-time great heavyweight. I don't agree. Because Usyk has only had like 7 heavyweights. is very stacked within those 7 fights, but really it's hard to put them past people who've had 30 plus, 40 plus fights and just had a career, a great all-time career at heavyweight. But what I can say is that Oleksandr Usyk is one of the greatest fighters, pound for pound ever. And I put him on my Mount Rushmore today. So I don't have him as an all-time great heavyweight, but I do have him as an all-time great pound for pound fighter. And where do I put him there? Pretty damn.
Critics argue that many of Alexander Usyk's opponents fell short not because he was unbeatable, but because they failed to use their own skills effectively. Several had rematches, yet still couldn't adapt or adjust their game plans. Analysts suggest that fighters like Michael Hunter or Joe Joyce, who have shown sharper ring awareness and strategy, might have presented a greater challenge. A key insight is that very few heavyweights are prepared to match Usyk's movement, timing, and tactical intelligence. As a result, many entered the ring without a clear strategy, allowing Usyk to control the fight with relative ease and making the bouts appear more one-sided than they might have been.
A bit harsh on Daniel Dubois after the fight, and I actually think I'm, being fair in being a bit harsh on him. I think Daniel Dubois is an exceptional fighter, but there is something, where it's a confidence thing. And I think Oleksandr Usyk, give him a lot of credit. His jab looked exceptional on Saturday, and really that first, jab that landed on Daniel Dubois, it snapped his head back, and it was a powerful jab. It actually reminded me of Ozabatubiev's jab when it's when he really snaps it, and it was obviously a very powerful shot. So I think Daniel Dubois, was confused by Usyk, and I think he just looked so discouraged to me. Again, take nothing away from Oleksandr Usyk. I thought it was an exceptional performance, and to be honest, he really didn't even get out of second gear. And he didn't even need to. Now, obviously, there's a lot of talk about what he's going to do next. In my opinion, really, there's only one fight that I would actually want to see. For me, that's Andrew Caballel. I think Andrew Caballel is someone that number one, knows how to go to the body. I think if Oleksandr Usyk does have a weakness, it is the body. I think Andrew Caballel can follow a disciplined game plan. I think he's had a good string of wins, and I think his stamina is very good as well. I think Oleksandr Usyk is, winning a lot of these fights based on his speed, his stamina, and his footwork. These big heavyweights like Daniel Dubois, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they cannot live with the pace that Usyk is setting. Daniel Dubois was knackered after 3 rounds in that fight. Okay, so they can't live with the pace. So again, I think Oleksandr Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but you need to match him with someone that can actually match his work rate. Okay, and for me, Andrew Caballel can match his work rate. He's going to go to the body. He's going to follow up.
Showbiz argues that placing Alexander Usyk alongside legends like Muhammad Ali and Evander Holyfield is premature. He believes Usyk hasn't yet built the kind of resume required to join that elite group. The all-time greats aren't defined solely by talent, but by the caliber of opponents they conquered. According to Showbiz, even Usyk's top 5 victories wouldn't make it into the top 5 wins on Ali or Holyfield's records. This comparison highlights the crucial distinction between being dominant in your own era and being considered one of the greatest fighters in the entire history of boxing.
No, I cannot put that over the likes of Evander the Real Deal Holyfield, fighting and beating the likes of Riddick Bowe, beating the likes of George Foreman. And when he beat George Foreman was a killer. Beating George Foreman, beating the likes of Iron Mike Tyson. He was a huge underdog there. Beating the likes of Larry Holmes, beating Michael Moorer, Evander beating Michael Dokes, as guys know who that is and how good of a fighter he was. Evander the Real Deal Holyfield has a different reign. I cannot put Usyk with his 5 heavyweight opponents over heavyweights, great heavyweights, who made careers at heavyweight. We all know what Muhammad Ali did. Muhammad Ali beat the who's who of heavyweight greats. He fought them all, and he beat them, okay? But then you have guys like Larry Holmes who have beaten the Ernie Shavers, who have beaten the Ken Nortons. You have the likes of Jack Johnson, which when you look at his box record, you see his record and you don't know what he had to overcome to be so great.
When Daniel Dubois faced Alexander Usyk, many anticipated a fierce battle. However, post-fight analysis revealed several shortcomings in Dubois' performance, including poor footwork, minimal head movement, and an inability to apply consistent pressure. These flaws sparked debate. Was Usyk truly dominant, or did Du Bois simply fail to rise to the occasion? While Usyk secured a clear win, some argued about highlighted Du Bois' lackluster, showing more than Usyk's brilliance. This underwhelming challenge renewed discussions about the overall quality of opponents Usyk has faced in the heavyweight division.
Very pro Dubois. And we were willing him on being a London boy and stuff like that. I thought he won the first round. I thought Usyk won the second round. I thought there was arguments for certainly giving Dubois the third round, but you could see even if he was in the fight, things were starting to change after the second round. Usyk just had that extra little bit of class about him.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have him for any rounds. I just thought Usyk was so dominant at that jab. And I'm not no boxing expert, I'm a casual. I'm a heavyweight casual. I just love to see big heavyweights box each other and knockouts. But I just feel like Usyk just was not even out of second gear. He didn't need to be. He just had him on that jab and he just kept plowing away. And whenever Dubois tried to land like a big shot, like one of those big punches that you talk about.
Renowned trainer Teddy Atlas delivered a sharp critique of Daniel Du Bois' performance against Oleksandr Usyk. He emphasized that despite having faced Usyk's power and movement, Du Bois made no meaningful adjustments. Atlas's main criticism was the lack of body shots and a coherent game plan. He argued that Du Bois approached the fight as if it were any standard bout, rather than preparing for a strategic battle. This left him vulnerable to Usyk's rhythm and angles, making the outcome feel inevitable. Atlas's analysis supports the growing view that Usyk's opponents often come in unprepared for his cerebral, technical style.
That's why I still thought with the game plan, how do you not see that and adjust 3 rounds later and do it again? But the more disturbing thing to me, Bud, was the lack of body work from Dubois. How do you not go to the body after what happened in the first fight? How do you not test that? He didn't throw one body shot maybe into the 3rd round, and maybe he threw a couple throughout the whole entire fight, or as long as it lasted into the 5th round. That was surprising to me, and I thought they dropped the ball big time with that as well.
You know, to that point, he did throw the one body shot. I'm not going to get deep into this, because it was only one, but it almost looked like it bothered him.
Right? And it looked like very similar to the first fight, close to that belt line, right?
But and it was low. It was a little low. It was. There's no doubt about it. No doubt. But still, to your point, how do you leave that alone? And then I'm going to, early in the show, when I broke down the Holloway and Poirier fight, I'm going to go back to that real quick now. Holloway won because he had a great, he won because he's great and because he's who he is and because of his makeup and his intestinal fortitude, his skills. I understand all that. But he won the way he won this fight because he had a great fight plan. To your point, to our point, Dubois had no fight plan. And to my point, I'm going to answer your question. You asked a brilliant question. See, the show was so much better with you. I'm sorry. I'm not knocking nobody. I'm not. I'm grateful for everyone. Everyone. And everything the history of the show has been. But you open up conversation for me by bringing me down places that conversation needs to be opened up by asking certain things that are relevant in this sport. And what you brought up is how? And I'm going to answer that question. How do you not have a better fight plan? How do you not adjust when you made those mistakes in the 2nd and 3rd round that Dubois made, reaching in? You see the guy stepping out. You see he's setting traps. How do you not adjust to that? I'm going to answer it, bud. Part of the thing that is Dubois is that what I was explaining before about being awkward, about being, a guy that kind of like, he simply gets directed. He's the kind of guy like, you direct him, you give him more confidence, and he's going to go. And he did that. He did it in the Herjavec fight. He walked through right hands. He did it in the Joshua fight. He took charge and he caught him. He did. But you can't do that in some fights.
Usyk's dominant win over Daniel Dubois earned praise from many analysts, reinforcing his status as a three-time undisputed champion. A rare and remarkable achievement. His technical brilliance, marked by precision and control rather than sheer power, has become his signature. Yet, despite these accolades, comparisons to Muhammad Ali still fall short. Ali's legacy goes beyond titles. His cultural impact, level of opposition, and legendary bouts across eras make him a singular figure in boxing history. While Usyk may be considered great by modern standards, Ali remains a once-in-a-century icon whose legacy still defines the pinnacle of the sport.
Oleksandr Usyk just knocked out Daniel Dubois in the 5th round.
Oleksandr Usyk at his scintillating best with a left counter to the chin, and it was good night for Daniel Dubois. And all rise for the brilliance of Oleksandr Usyk.
Man, I can't lie to you, bro. That overhand left is different. It's different. He put it right on the... That's taking you out, bro. It's cooked. You're cooked. I'm not gonna lie, man. When it comes to heavyweight fighters, you have to put Oleksandr Usyk. He's top 10, bro. It might be crazy to say he's top 5, but you gotta look at what he's doing, bro. When it comes to heavyweights, bro, he's different. He's different. It's just simple and plain. After this performance, where do you guys rank Usyk all time? Just strictly heavyweights. When it comes to heavyweights, where do you guys rank him all time? I'm not gonna lie, he's gotta be top 10.
Debates continue to swirl among boxing fans about a fantasy matchup between Muhammad Ali and Oleksandr Usyk. Surprisingly, a notable number believe Usyk's southpaw stance, fluid movement, and technical precision could pose real problems for a prime Ali. They argue that Usyk's unorthodox angles, feints, and tactical discipline might have outsmarted even the legendary heavyweight. While this opinion remains in the minority, it reflects the deep respect Usyk has earned for his ring IQ. On the other side, many contend that Ali's adaptability, toughness, and late-round resilience would ultimately break Usyk down. The contrasting styles make this a captivating hypothetical showdown.
We've got to have an open conversation. Prime Muhammad Ali versus Oleksandr Usyk. Who wins this fight? The tale of the tape, both men are pretty much just about the same. Not entirely sure on the birthday thing though, someone can go fact check that one. And Usyk did actually weigh heavier than 220 pounds when he fought Daniel Dubois. But regardless of that, the two absolute legends of the sport, who would win this? Now, for me, if I'm honest with you, man, this is going to be a real hot take, but I think Usyk wins this, you know. I love Muhammad Ali. He's one of my favourite boxers of all time to watch. I can still go back and watch most of his fights now and enjoy them. He was definitely ahead of his time. But when I watch Oleksandr Usyk and the way that he boxes and, you know, the way that sort of Soviet style, that Ukrainian style now, has come on over the years, the fact that most of Muhammad Ali's opponents were of a similar size, similar weight to him, whereas Oleksandr Usyk is giving away a lot of weight against a lot of his opponents and still coming out and dominating them. I think Usyk does it. I also, and this is going to be a bit of a hot take, I do think that the current day heavyweight division is probably better than it was when Muhammad Ali was around in terms of the actual calibre of fighters. I think the fact that fighters can only really fight twice a year at max in the heavyweight division now, especially when you're at the very, very top, whereas in Muhammad Ali's age, they could genuinely fight like 5-6 times a year sometimes. I think it speaks a lot to how the sport as a whole has really come on. But yeah, let me know your opinions in the comments. I know I'm going to get an absolute lashing for this one, but yeah, I think Oleksandr Usyk beats Muhammad Ali. I can't believe I just said that, but hey ho, it's what it is. I think Usyk's too technical, it's too good. I think he would actually knock Muhammad Ali out, especially given that Muhammad Ali had a tendency to pull backwards with his chin in the air, and I think Usyk probably finds that. Not to mention that the dimensions are pretty much the same, so Usyk isn't punching up or anything like that. Anyway, let me know in the comments. As always, like, favourite, similar, share, I'll appreciate it for more boxing content. Hit that follow button. Peace out.
Supporters of the Usyk versus Ali fantasy matchup often highlight the physical and stylistic similarities between the two. Both are comparable in height and weight, and each relies more on speed, footwork, and ring intelligence than on sheer power. These parallels go beyond statistics. both have helped redefine what it means to be a technical heavyweight. In the 1960s, Muhammad Ali revolutionized the sport with his jab, agility, and lateral movement. Today, Oleksandr Usyk is reshaping the heavyweight landscape with his exceptional footwork, timing, and use of space. Their shared ability to dominate opponents without relying on knockout power connects them in a rare way. Adding to conversation, heavyweight legend Lennox Lewis recently stated that he believes he could have beaten Usyk if they had fought in the same era. According to Lewis, many of today's heavyweights struggle against Usyk not because he's unbeatable, but because they fail to disrupt his rhythm or pressure him effectively. He emphasized the importance of cutting off the ring, leveraging physical size, and attacking the body early, strategies Lewis himself mastered. His remarks reflect more than just confidence. They underscore a perceived tactical gap in modern boxing. Whether or not he's right, Lewis's perspective sheds light on how the division has evolved.
How do you think Oleksandr Usyk would have done in your era, the era of Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson? How do you think he would have done against you and your contemporaries?
I would have to compare him to Evander Holyfield, and I think he would have done very well. I don't think he would have lasted against me because, I throw a mean uppercut in there, and I noticed he gets caught with uppercuts, so he wouldn't have been able to stand up to my own.
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned, fight fans.